they think that I just come in there and look for knockoffs, and that's not the case. I'm actually a sharp, smart fighter.
So, well, I'm here. Who wanted to fight with me?
I really don't care who's in front of me. I don't feel like no fighter can beat me.
My goal is to demolish everybody, to be honest. Everybody that's in my way. The pinnacle to any weight division is to have all of the belts, all of the titles.
Welcome to Bodywork. Welcome back. It's Michael Rogers. Welcome to Bodywork Boxing. It feels so good to be back. Just another manic Monday. Oh my goodness, man. I really wish that boxing could get back on track. But since it won't, I'm going to drop a couple jewels. I'm going to spin the block. I'm going to run it back. And hopefully, it can bounce back. Because it's my goal and my aim to put something in your rucksack that you can march on with, man. How everybody doing out there, man? Salute to everybody out there, man. Out there in this, out here in these boxing streets. I'm going to spin the block today, and I'm going to Cookie Monster, Bodywork, salute Cookie Monster, mic check 1 2, flames, sounding great. I appreciate you, I really do. I need that mic check. I'm glad I sound clear. Thanks for always being on Pizoint. But I'm going to spin the block on something I did a while ago called the divide and conquer strategy. Right, it's been a lot of boxing this week. The last couple weeks, it's been a lot of boxing going on. But it seems as though all of the conversations online are still, regardless if we get good fights, if we get bad fights, we always have tribalism, hot dog eating contests. We have knee pad durability training out here in these YouTube streets. We have who got the best tonsil jewelry. We got who has the most effective throat coat. Man, it's really wild, man, when you hear the conversations around boxing. And to be honest, before I get into it, let me go over the curriculum. Just a part of it, because I gotta remind y'all, man, gaslighting is to manipulate someone using psychological methods into questioning their own sanity or powers of that's not this. I cater to the hardcore. That's all I really care about. You know what I'm saying? I want to create, my goal is to create as many hardcores as I can out of these casuals. I'm trying to, it's almost like when you're trying to convert somebody into being woke. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what's the best way to be around woke people? Wake one up! And so I'm trying to wake y'all up out here, man. So I cater everything to my hardcores. And it's like, even hardcores online, they take a casual approach to the conversation because I guess they figure it gets likes, clicks, views. You know, it drives up the numbers. You know, people come in because really, it's always a lot of people out here that love to talk without the whole information. They see a title, they see a thumbnail, and then they off to the races. And it's not until they get on an actual live and somebody tell them something and they're like, I didn't know that. Like, thanks for updating me. Well, why did you have all of that bass in your voice? I don't know if y'all seen Coneheads, but maintain low tones with me. Maintain low tones. It's like, how are you so vocal and adamant about your approach and you don't even have all the answers? You didn't even take 5 minutes to qualify the information. Well, I'm gonna qualify some information, man, because Eddie Hearn, once again, he did his nasty ass promotional tools. You know, you got Eddie Hearn, you got Shakur, the interviews they've been doing here lately, they just running amok out here, just saying stuff. And I'm like, Eddie, last week I was disappointed in Shakur. That led to me hearing a live yesterday on my man Pop channel that was disgusting to me. Utterly disgusting. Because people always like to use this word. It's the first letter, and they begin with the first letter in the alphabet. It's called accountability. But I'm noticing that online when it comes to certain conversations, when it comes to their fighters, there is none. But when it comes to the ones they want to hate and deride, like D-E-R-I-D-E, not deride, like most of y'all niggas out here. Deride. This show is for my intellectuals. The ones that they want to deride, pull down, tear down, muddy the waters with. You know, they want to dull that shine, fuck up that luster. It's like that's for a lot of them. They hold no accountability for their guys, but they want all the accountability in the world for the guys that they hate. And I'm gonna say hate. I know I often say that a lot of times, you know, when it comes down to when you name facts on certain fighters, that's what the first that's the first thing people want to resort to is the word hate. And I'm like, no, it's like, if you speak facts, like this fighter was an electrician, that's not hate, that's a fact. Like, I'm understanding that out here in the real world, people don't like facts. Like, the light is red, you can't go. Don't get mad. Yeah, you might be upset that you can't cross the intersection or that you running late for work, but the light is red. That's a fact. You mad at the wrong things. That is a fact. So when I spin the block and I run it back on this whole divide and conquer, because originally I did a segment, it's been a minute ago, but I did a segment called Divide and Conquer. And I'm like, man, it always works on us. It always works on us, you know what I'm saying? It never works on them. It just makes them strong and they bound together. But I came out and I did this segment. This was the thumbnail for it. Divide and Conquer. We Tied podcast, open panel, and it, you know, and really, I don't have his face. That's not Eddie, but I was gonna put Eddie's face up there. I was gonna work my thumbnail magic and put Eddie's face right there. You see those hands right there? That's divide. That's dividing and conquering. That's what they're doing. And how ironic that yesterday I heard a live that was disgusting, and that was involving Shakur and Tank. Tank been minding his business. But all the people that, you know what I'm saying, that can't stand him and think he ain't shit, that's all they ever want to talk about. That's all they ever want to talk about. They gave Pop, a lot of shit, James, a special request to come out and cook Tank. I'm like, for somebody who don't like somebody, why would you want them to just do a video? But when you start cooking on Shakur and you start stating facts like the light is red, the sky is blue, on Shakur, they be silent. Minute you say, you can't even get the whole soon as you say, oh man, that's what I want to, they all hype and all, yeah man, that cool. This was the first episode of the Divide and Conquer. Those are all the assassins at 35. And I gotta update my thumbnail to include Keyshawn and the one for the 35 division, but that's not what we talking about. We talking about just Divide and Conquer. And this is where we're gonna go ahead and kick off part 2. This is part 2. So where do I start, man? There's so many different ways, so many different areas I can start, but I'm gonna kick it off like this. I was working yesterday and I could not hop on Pops live. I only hopped on there for a second, but the area I was in, I guess my headphones kept going in and out. I was driving and I could not jump in to really interject much about anything. But let's clear up some things, man. Let's go over some facts. Let's really start diving into why certain people get so emotional when certain names are brought up and when certain facts are brought up, and why they always remain mute, silent, whenever certain things come up. Like, so if you mention the word Tank, it was a dude that came up on the panel. The first thing he said, "Oh man, Tank, that coon ass bitch ass." I'm like, okay, so coon, how are you applying that word? And why are you so emotional? Why are you triggered already at just the mention of the dude's name? Because last time I checked, this man was born and raised in Baltimore. He blew up out of Baltimore. And he went to he's more than a household name. Anybody that put on a set of gloves, they either ask him what's their opinion on the fight, or would you fight him, or do you think it's something involving this man? People out here, other boxers cannot even promote their goddamn selves without using this man's name. And the last time I checked, the man came back to his city and he bought housing and created affordable housing for somebody. That's not cool. He has a whole gym. I ride by the gym like at least every week. I could ride by there almost every day, but most of the time I probably ride by up the gym about at least 5, 6, 7 times a week. So he has a gym where there's actually product that's been produced out of that gym that he's a vital part of, that he's a product of. Well, you got a coach's daughter, Mia Killer B. You got Lorenzo Truck Simpson, who's supposed to be fighting Jahai Tucker here soon. You know, you got all of these youth. So on a daily basis, they're giving back to the youth. I don't know what kind of coon shit that is. But do these other fights, like, do you hear about Shakur having something like that? We know about him visiting the elementary school. We know about him showing back up and doing it, but do they have an active gym where they're actually giving back to the current and present future, the people of tomorrow, in their own community? I've seen the man do turkey drives and coat drives and back to school drives. I seen Devin Haney passing out fried chicken to the homeless. And it's crazy how everybody want to speak ill of Tank and all that. You might not like him as a fighter. You might not even like him as a person. For whatever reason it is. It might have been an incident where you saw him basically grab his lady by the collar and escort her out because she was hanging around the wrong people. But it ain't no film of him out here just straight punching a broad like somebody else. There ain't no film of him out here punching on a carnival worker like somebody else. But we remain silent about these things and so passionate about other things. It's like, I understand if you're going to have all this outrage and all this uproar when it comes to this fighter over here, fighter A. But if you're not keeping the same energy when it comes down to fighter B, you can miss me with all that. You're being selective in your approach, selective in your opponent. And your opponent is living in your head as your own self. So Shakur come out, he say a bunch of things in his interview to the point to where a lot of people like myself who've been studying, covering, doing videos on them, backing them, like when they tried to kick him, like when that rainbow community, the hippos den boxing community, when they came out and they was shitting all over Shakur, I was one of the main ones defending the dude. When he came out and he started saying he was half Puerto Rican, they tried to do that Dave Chappelle shit and was just like, well, the delegation in the Black Congress, we gonna give up Shakur and we'll take Caleb Plant. They was doing all kind of crazy ass videos. I was the one defending them online. And a lot of these, I noticed that a lot of these Johnny come latelys is what I call them. They don't even know what the fuck I asked one dude who like, man, this dude be on Shakur so hard. Every little thing he got something to say and do, but I asked this man, who did he get his belt from? Who was the first guy? This nigga didn't even know. But we'll argue you tooth and nail all day, every day about Tank. You don't even know your fighter. And I'm more of a bigger fan of your fighter than you are, because why? I'm a true fan. I just keep it a buck on all of them. I don't go out of my way to shit on them. And I hate when I have to do videos like this to recalibrate the situation, or at least put another stake in the motherfucking ground to hold it down when everybody else is just out here clowning around. It's ridiculous that we still having this conversation. We've been said that Tank and Shakur, what do I call Tank and Shakur? The Cold War. We know it's a Cold War. Only Tank be minding his business, and we hear Shakur talking about a fight with Tank more than he actually talk about Zepeda. More than he talk about Zepeda. Like, duh, I'm like, you got Ak up there, you got all these people up there, and you got this man up here on the whole channel, and he's not even promoting his own fight. But tell me if I'm wrong. You might have heard rumors of who's fighting who, and you might think Tank fighting this and this and that. The man been out the loop. I did a video on when boxers go dark, but why is he not saying anything? And every time somebody put a mic in this other guy's face, all you say is something about Tank. He minding his business. It make no sense. So this is where we at with this. Shakur come out and say things, right? Fans get all up in rage and they start talking about it, but it's like, hold on, you're not promoting Zepeda. Get people eyeballs on Zepeda. That's your next fight. We just seen what happened when people start looking down the line. And even if Tank was going to go ahead and get it, let's say he was going to go ahead and fight the Jake Paul. You could say maybe he was looking down the line, looking past Rose. We don't know. We'll get that in the build up to the rematch whenever some information come out, but in typical PBC fashion, they have not released anything. No press, no nothing. Just a bunch of conjuring and speculation and all. Nobody have no answers, but they got all this shit to say online. The man ain't said nothing. But Shakur been out here popping and talking. And I salute him for actually getting out there and promoting, but I question like some of the things and all this, because you don't just go by what boxers say. You go by what they actually do. So last time when I did this video, I talked about the Normans and I talked about Boots. And recently I did something not too long ago where I said Fahrenheit 147, where the conversation around these two, they trying to make this shit like Bud Spence all over again. And guess what? Boots ain't Bud and Norman ain't Spence. Boots ain't Bud and Norman ain't Spence. And I gotta update this. Since Boots actually took over Stayana. It's not the Glamour division no more. This is D Block. And it's looking like Boots is the biggest, baddest thing of 47. And it's looking like Barrios want to go do something else, fighting Manny Pacquiao, getting another payday with a legend and all this other stuff. However you want to skin it. Stanionis is out of the picture. Boots took that. So he got 2 of the stones. He got 2 of the Infinity Stones. It's still 2 left. And any boxer that started a career knows that when you first started a career, you don't start a career thinking about somebody else, waiting on somebody else. You start your career thinking, okay, I'm gonna get built, I'm gonna build up, I'm gonna fight this style, I'm gonna fight that style, and eventually we gonna meet together. It just so happened Boots is a little bit older, and he's been him and Stanionis, they were taking a step aside and moving to the side and doing all these things, but it's so funny how the conversation around these guys change depending on who you are favorites with. Like me, I don't care who you rooting for. That's not going to change the fact of your actions and things that you do in facts. Like when Cameron submitted paperwork for his mandatory and Eddie he didn't pay the extra money or do anything in time. You got to think the sanctioning bodies, when you are a title holder, they actually have rules. If you don't follow their rules, you can't represent their belt. So the whole slander that Eddie did when he sent out that offer to Norman and had all the YouTube buzzing and all that, people are still butthurt over that, and they failed to even realize that the fight was not going to happen because he had Karen. Once Karen worked his way back up the ladder and he put in that paperwork and they didn't do what they needed to do, that show was going to go on. It was messiness. And you got to ask, why were they entertained? Why didn't they fight Virgil? He said he wanted to stay and he wanted to be undisputed. He wanted to unify. He wanted to do all this stuff, right? So why would you send an offer out to Charles Conwell? Because unlike everybody else, I wasn't just looking at Norman. I was analyzing everything and saying, hold on, why would you make it seem like Charles Conwell turned you down and Norman turned you down, and you know you got to fight Cameron? And you talking to a man who's at the last Boots fight. I seen the history being made in Atlantic City. I was in the building. I seen Richards and Hitchens that night.
Call me back.
So this is a thing where I'm like, hold on, man. You talking to a guy that is, I'm a fan of all of these guys. If the fight is close enough and I can drive or get there, I'm gonna go if I can. So I went to the fight. So you talking to somebody that is a Boots fan. I'm not an only fan. You talking to somebody that's a Shakur fan. I'm not an only fan. You talking to somebody that's a Norman fan. I'm not an only fan where I only like this one boxer or I only rock with this one tribe. I'm not like that.
Hey, Body.
What's up?
What up, bro? Hey, the fans let that go over their head, bro. How Boots made it seem like Conwell and Brian Norman Jr. ducked, and they never ducked him. They never ducked him. He made it seem like them niggas that shit. He basically made it seem like niggas didn't want to fight him because of who he was, bro. And that shit went over everybody's head.
And they're still doing it. But let me just run through this little thing, boom, boom, and salute for coming on. I salute you for jumping on, man. But I appreciate that, man. Let me just run through this real quick. I'm gonna try to wrap it up real quick. Easily Baked in the building. Boom Boom in the building. Cold Key in the building. Salute to all of y'all. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate all of the love. You know what I'm saying? We're going to cook tonight. We are going to cook because I would like to have decent conversations to where I really felt offended yesterday. My man 50 Grand was on the panel talking and the dude start acting all stupid and crazy. And I'm just like, I couldn't, man. I wish I could have teleported online, man. Because this is the thing I'm doing tonight is a much needed conversation to kind of alleviate these kind of situations going forward. So let he who have ears to hear, let him hear. But we got to look at it like this. Eddie comes out, and Eddie makes a statement. And he basically tries to make it seem like Brian Norman is ducking Boots again. And that he wants to get something on deck and he wants to have this fight and all this. Now, let me remind you, much like when Devin Haney fought Regis Prograis, Sandor Martin was Regis Prograis' mandatory. when Devin Haney made me eat some of the best crow aside from Carlos Adames in recent history, right? And he beat Regis, beat him down, dropped him and everything. Had my man looking bad. He inherited a mandatory. Well, guess what? The Gearsaw fight was on the Boots card. He showed up, and when Boots put the Beats by Dre down on my guy Stan Giannis and made this nigga not come out the corner, he inherited a mandatory. And guess what? Me and AC over there on Pop Channel, we was all talking, and I said, man, don't you think it's weird that Ryan off for the year, and then Rolly, everybody complained about him getting another shot after getting stopped and knocked out in all these chances. They quit to complain. I said, don't y'all find it weird that they're going to get a shot at the belt that Stan Giannis had before he got elevated to full champ? Don't y'all think that that's kind of weird with Ryan coming off a layoff and the cheating and all this and all that? So guess what? The sanctioning body said this nigga had 2 mandatories. So right after the fight, Boots was glowing. Boots looked like Bruce Leroy that night. You know what I'm saying? He looked like Bruce Leroy. I ain't gonna lie, man. I was like, okay, all right, Boots. That's when I'm just like, I had already been saying need to go to 54, but I'm like, I done seen all I need to see, and you just made history. They can't call you no email champ. You stamped it. You took a strap off another champ. All of that. Move up, bruh. Because right now you looking like you trying to be a big fish in a small pond, and I don't condone nobody punching down. When you got all the advantages, I don't like that shit. I like to see when the advantages are mixed. So right after the fight, they start asking them all about Brian Norman Jr. And Boots was getting visibly frustrated and upset. He was getting visibly frustrated and upset, like, oh man. And it's part of me, I kind of understand it. But if you're going to be unified, those are your time when the world is all looking at you, because it's your week in the fight, it's your night, it's prime time. They put the mic in your face. You have a press conference, and when they asked you about Brian Norman, they said, I don't know why they keep talking about Brian Norman. He's not that good. And the press stopped asking questions. We fast forward here till recently, and we 4 weeks out. We 4 weeks out from Brian Norman moving on, because if you think about it, when Brian Norman came out there and punched old buddy all and had his ass looking all crazy off in the corner, and he basically said, no mas, man, that nigga punching me all in my shit. I ain't got time for this. It's over. When he got done, he made it clear that yes, we want to unify, we want to fight Boots. They asked him all the questions because they don't regard Norman the way they do Boots. They don't regard him because he's not as popular and all this and all that. It don't matter to everybody else. It matters to me because I'm a hardcore that the man got a strap. But he got a strap. He did it on his own way. He is dangerous. He is growing. He is a problem in the ring. And whether or not you think this person would beat the shit out of that person or whatever, if you look at it like, okay, that's a brother from Atlanta and that's a brother from Philly. At some point in time, they need to fight. Unless Boots get out of the division, or one of them get out of the division, or they lose their strap or whatever. They got to fight. But Jin Sasaki came up. He attended. He came up. He did the ceremonial thing, took the pictures, stated his claim that I want to fight you, and this is what we can do and all this. And then behind closed doors, it wasn't a whole bunch of stupid shit when people start negotiating all out in the public, which is a hint that you don't really want to fight, in my opinion, watching boxing all this time. They get something happening behind closed doors. Next thing you know, it's rumblings and rumors, and yeah, man, he might be going over to Japan and fighting Jin Sasaki. Right? The only guy to beat he stopped him was Andy Hirooka. That was the only guy, but Jin Sasaki been popping. That's one of AC guys. That's one of his guys. He been pulling for him for a minute now. And he was saying, yeah, man, I would really like to see Brian Norman, Jin Sasaki. We been cooking on that shit. So then he gets some business. Because if Boots is like, I don't know why y'all keep bringing him up, and he was so dismissive after his fight, he didn't give the media, he didn't give nothing to go by. But you fast forward now to Eddie talking about, oh yeah, basically Brian Norman and them ducking. I'm like, hold on, man. So we 4 weeks out for the man getting ready to fight and go over to Japan. He training and all that, and now all of a sudden y'all want to come out with this messy ass shit. This is the divide and conquer. And since everybody butt hurt from the first time, not even acknowledging that Boots was gonna fight Cameron regardless, and they smeared Brian Norman and they smeared Conwell. They still butt hurt, and that residual has been coming up till now. So now they all online having a hissy fit, doing all this dumb shit, saying all this dumb shit. I'm like, hold on, man. That's why I gotta talk to you, these dumbass casuals, because one, Boots inherited a mandatory. Then they gave him another one with the winner of Rolly and Ryan. And nobody talking about Rolly having to fight Boots. And I'm not part of the Boots protection committee. That's not me. I want him to fight everybody. I want to see him against some people where he don't have all the advantages. He not the biggest, baddest and all that. I want to see it where it's mixed. But for Eddie to come out and say that shit, this is just another thing, a tactic that we've always seen, to where somebody already got a fight, you start saying the name, and because you got a YouTube presence and everybody thirsty and they want likes, clicks, and views, you gonna have them talking out the side of their ass. So here you got people all online with their panties in a bunch, talking, oh man, I don't know why I hate Norman. And all Norman Sr. did was go on the boxing voice and defend or respond. He didn't start this. He responded to something that Eddie Hearn said. And everybody's still shitting on this man. So I'm like, hold on. They want Brian Norman, who about to get, I don't pocket watch, man. They say the number is 1.7. That's just for general information. You know how I feel. I'm like the Joker when it comes to the numbers. Never rub up against another man's rhubarb. That's not my lane. I don't care. I hope they all get paid. But they say he's going to get 1.7. He's 4 weeks away. They want this man to pull out of that fight and commit to fighting Boots. Because they don't want to either A, do that mandatory, which it ain't no way around it. You inherited it. And Ginsov said he wanted his shot at the fight. 4 weeks out. That's like, that's almost like Tank coming out and saying, you know what? Yeah, I know I've been quiet, but Shakur, pull out of there to pay the fight. The Shakurians would shit on themselves if he said some shit like that. They'd be all online like all night pulling a 38-hour live talking about that shit. So I'm like, that's just messy. And it's not right. And I don't understand it. When Boots was getting ready to fight Stan Giannis, every time they interview Boots stands. And I want somebody, I always say, man, somebody stop me when I'm lying. Somebody say, stop me. Somebody say, stop me when I'm lying. I always say, stop me when I'm lying. If you catch me in anything that you don't believe is right and exact, or call my name. Okay, the boxing guy, 1.2, not 1.7. That's what Boots offered him last year. Okay, cool, whatever. That's why I say I don't get into the numbers. 1 point whatever, it's not going in my pocket. 1 point something for clarity. So, whenever they ask Boots, because after Boots, when you think about it, the second time he fought Cameron after that, he was ambiguous. So don't act like we didn't see it when he said, oh, maybe I am, maybe it is time to move up. I don't know. And then he said, I wasn't hyped for this guy. It was a bunch of things that when any other boxer say it, they would label them as excuses. But Boots had a lot of, I guess, justifiable reasons or things that made people question what his next move was going to be. Was he going to go to 54 or stay at 47? He ultimately landed and said, no, I want to be undisputed at 47. Everybody was like, okay, cool. But in the lead up to the Stan Giannis fight, every time they would ask him any question about any future fight, whether it was Virgil Ortiz, because we know that they turned down a Virgil Ortiz deal at 54 that had everybody scratching their goddamn head. Right? Whether it was Virgil Ortiz, whether it was Brian Norman, was anything, Boots said, I hate to sound like a broken record, but all I'm focused on is Stan Giannis. All I'm focused on is Stan Giannis. So we 4 weeks away with Brian Norman getting ready to fight Jen Sasaki. Why now start talking about Boots? Why now? Why not have the same tunnel vision or allow that man the same privilege like everybody else when he say, listen, we got an opponent. It's been a contract been signed. A deal been negotiated. We in Big Bear right now. We getting ready to go over to Japan where we got to get acclimatized. We got a nigga that can actually punch over there with a big fan base. We going into hostile territory. I have tunnel vision. Why isn't he, whether you think Boots will beat shit down Brian Norman leg or not, why is he not afforded the same opportunity to have tunnel vision on the nigga he facing right now? Because we just seen what happened to Ryan when he went up there in Fort Rowley and he had Devin on his mind. Oh, we don't think about it like that though. It's different. It's different strokes for different folks. Right. That's one thing. That's one contradictory thing, one contradictory piece of information and behavior. And like I said, I believe that this is like Spence and Bud all over again. And the way the conversation got before they actually fight and the build up and all that, it got to the point where people were ready to run up on each other and smoke each other. Just like some shit I seen yesterday when motherfucker sent this address out. I was like, ain't no place and time for that. And then one day somebody gonna call your bluff. One day somebody gonna call your bluff. Boxing talk and boxing conversation should be adhered to and adhering to the conversation around boxing, potential fights and all that. It should not really be between us. And if you can't keep it a buck about your favorite fighter, if you gotta defend and you are never critical of your favorite fighter, but you're always critical of everybody else, it's like you really have no place in boxing talk. And it was my man AC that actually reminded me that the night after the Lamont Roach fight, I went over there on Smoke Channel and I was on fire. I was on fire. Very critical of my guy Tank. If you can't ever do that and your fighter can do no wrong, you really don't need to be talking about boxing. What's up, AC?
What's good, bro? Great cook, man. Great lead into the conversation. That's the one thing as fans, you know, we have to remember. And some of us are at a stage that, you know, some of these guys, I don't know whether it happened in high school. I don't know whether it happened in junior high school or happened when you became a person online, to whereas the outrage is the thing that drives you. You feel what I'm saying? Like people got these Facebook pages. Some people post all day long, never trust this person, don't let this person in your inner circle, no new friends. I'm like, who the fuck do you have around you that this is what you do day to day, all fucking day when you post something? I get rid of those type of people. You feel what I'm saying? Because to me, they have a internal programming that makes them hate. You feel what I'm saying? So I don't know the ins and outs of the circumstances of why you don't want new friends and why you don't, you know, everything is so negative with you and your negative outlook on just life and people in general. And you see boxing fans come into the conversation with that same hate, that same built-in hate. Because for a guy to call Tank a coon, just to revisit what you said, for a guy to call Tank a coon, that's like, when did he ever coincide and say, listen, I don't give a fuck about that that nigga shit that T.O. or Ryan was talking about. I don't care about all of that. And you're a black fighter coming from a black impoverished neighborhood where the police presence is always negative. Like when do you catch Tank in those type of conversations or on on a video live or anything like that with anybody to make that statement? And that's the thing. It's like people say things, you know what I'm saying, and then that narrative runs between people who are in that circle. You feel me? I was a big I still am a big fan of Shakur, but sometimes you'll hear me say I was because I just don't recognize him from the guy I was really like excited about when he was at 126 and part of his career at 130. I was like, this little dude is on some next level shit. He could be the next generational talent. But then I started to see things that went a little sideways for me. And then I started to call him out on those things. Doesn't mean I still, go into his fights at times and say, yeah, he's going to win this fight. I'm expecting him to win this fight. I want to see how he does it. And then there are fights that I'm like, okay, I kind of hope you lose this fight because you just a little bit too, I don't know, you think shit can't happen to you because you're in a situation to where you're fed a certain diet and these things happen. When I look at Devin, I say the same thing. Part of your career, when I went back to really look at who you are, yes, you fought some impressive names and you fought some decent guys. You feel what I'm saying? But you still had the advantages. One of the first fights people were like, you may not have the advantages, is when you fought Loma. You did your thing with Loma. Congratulations. But then you went and played with Regis up at 140 and stuff like that. And then you felt that because you took out a legit puncher, that now you could stand in the pocket and fight a legit puncher that is more than likely, regardless if the two of you came in at the same weight, he was going to rehydrate heavier than you, and he's your height. Then they got the same reach, if not a longer reach. And you went in there with the most stupidest game plan you could go in there with, bro. And at the end of the day, man, look, I can say that about you and still say, I hope you come back and I want to see something impressive, even after your comeback fight that happened last week. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll give that off. You're getting back in it, engaging and stuff like that. You're taking your time. You're taking it in steps. You gave us a great show in footwork. That's about the best compliment I could give you for that performance. And I'm going to be honest about it. You feel me? When it comes down to Tank Davis, I can honestly say I never really was a big fan of Tank, but I appreciated what he brought to the game. And that thing that I can appreciate is, yeah, right now we're in an age where there are a lot of slick fighters. You're not getting a lot of knockouts. Guys are fighting, 12-round fights and stuff like that. In the middle of the fight, yeah, I'll get up and go make me a sandwich, do something, because I'm like, yeah, this is the middle of it. I'm not really expecting nothing. I want to see what now happens at the championship rounds because I know this is a slow-paced fight. You know what I'm saying? But Tank came in and he gave us those knockouts, those stoppages, those punches that were so fast that you had to literally go back and play that shit in slow motion. Like, when did he hit? I heard the sound, but I didn't see the punch. And you like, damn, this little dude is... Yo, we got something. This little dude got like Deontay Wilder, Mike Tyson, AJ type power, David Tua type power. Just knock the shit out of you. You feel me? And the little dude could box. But I wasn't a fan of his because some of the things he was doing outside the ring.
Let me rewind back on something you said, because this is why I give you credit. I give you credit for still being a Devin fan, but also keeping it a buck. right? This is why I run a lot of things about Devin. I ask you, okay, am I hating or am I just stating facts or am I just doing this? Now, this is the difference between you as a diehard Devin fan who keeps it a buck versus a Devin D rider, knee pad wearer, throat coat sprayer. I heard somebody say, "Oh man, his last performance against Ryan, they didn't like that. They said, man, it was the wrong game plan and they cooked him for that. This performance, he do what he need to do to get a win, and they cooked him for that. Devin can't win for blah blah." Listen, tell me if my math is mathing. But the first performance, number one, was you had the wrong strategy. You had the right strategy because from rounds 2 through 6 you won, and then you got overconfidence and you fell back into thinking that you could stand right in front of him, and you had no answer for the left hook or the right hand because the left side of your face was fucked up more than the right side of your face. So that means it wasn't just the left hook, which your fans keep telling you, oh man, it was just the left hook. It wasn't just the left hook, it was the right hand. So the first one, you had the wrong strategy because you did what you needed to do from rounds 2 through 6, and then you got away from the strategy, and then you decide you want to stand toe to toe, and you went in there talking about you was going to stand in there with Ryan trying to please somebody. And the last time you really did that trying to please somebody was against a Linares, and he wobbled you. So that's one. The second performance is you picked the guy who I'm on numerous channels. I'm definitely on Pop's channel a couple times saying, hey man, I think Ramirez is punchy, and I believe Devin won this fight. He won the fight when he picked the opponent. So with Arnold Barboza having washed Ramirez better than you, and he's coming off of a loss, Arnold Barboza, the guy that T.O. just styled on, washed your opponent that you picked under the guise that he was unified. You went in there and we thought that, okay, cool. Gabe Rosado tried to throw you a layup, an alley-oop, by trying to say, I wouldn't pick that kind of opponent. You get offended with him, start shitting on him and running down his resume, even though his resume, he might not have all the wins, but he shared the ring with a lot of great fighters. And people still respect him. Shitted on him, and he gave you a layup, you twisted it around. And we thought that you picked Jose Ramirez because you were going to go in there and show him that you can do a little bit of what you did with Ryan. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he's a threat. Yeah, he can fight. Yeah, he can bang. But I'm going to show you that everything I've been working on since the Ryan fight, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to literally spank this man. Not run and shoot. You know what I'm saying? You wasn't going to do the run and shoot. So they critiqued your performance and say, hey, listen, that's not the performance I expected. I understand he did what he needed to do to get the win because he was focused on Ryan. I get that. But that was not the performance I was looking for. I was disappointed in the performance. I expected more. And we also said comprehensively, when I did the video last week about the Saw series, when I said he gets hate for no reason at all. We said, I asked you, I said, did that answer any of your questions that we had coming out of the Ryan fight? You said, honestly, no. Yes, it answered one question. We know you're not scared to get back in, which is a confidence booster, and he got back in. Yeah. But as far as whether he can take the left hook, whether he's, gun shy, whatever, whether, the technique and all that, we had more questions after the Jose Ramirez fight than before. Yep. So that's one performance against Ryan. That's two. That's the second performance was against Jose Ramirez. 1 + 1 = 2. If you have two bad, because we always judge a fighter on his last performance. We seen 2 performances in a row. And people say, oh, he can't win for losing. He won the fight. He got back in the win column. Everybody gave him a salute for getting back in the win column, but then they critiqued the performance just like they critiqued Shakur against Nakatila. When they critiqued Shakur against De Los Santos, There's no exception. When they critique Boots against Karen Kujajian, when they critique Tank against Lamont Roach, it's the same thing. But they sit up here and act like a pansy, like nobody can critique your fighter or say nothing bad about your fighter. You don't need to be in boxing conversations. Because all you want to do is praise and worship a fighter. We're not doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. So here's the funny part. When we talk to fighters, and when me, you, and Papa critiquing a fighter, we're critiquing something that's justifiable. You know what I'm saying? Not by reaching to find a justification for it, but by your own immediate actions. Something you did within the last 24 hours or no more than a week. And it all depends on when you guys can get to it and start cooking on it on the live. So it's always within, on average, always within, a day or no more than 3 days. So we are justified in what we're doing because we're doing it in real time. It makes no sense to try to revisit something. When we were talking about the whole Boots and Brian Norman thing, the first time, we were people that was saying, okay, let's look at how we got here. He fucked up to a certain degree because he was stalling. Then he had the issues with his manager passing away and then his wife taking over, and they didn't like the wife. So then there was some litigation and shit like that. According to the IBF rules, you got to fight every 6 to 9 months. You were on a layoff to where that exceeded those 9 months, and then Karen, somehow the way the rankings are and, circumstances with certain fights and shit like that, he wound up spinning the block and being right there again. Then you tried to sell us on, we sent Brian Norman offers and we sent Charles Conwell offers, and both of them turned us down. These guys are not serious. They don't want to fight Boots because Boots is blah, 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 blah. And you had people legitimately saying, damn, man, I ain't know he sent Conwell an offer like that. And when you find out the details, you like, oh, that was some bullshit. That's that Eddie Hearn bullshit. And then what happens? It's all in the mix and everybody want to cook on it and be on multiple, content creator panels. Like everybody on the panel is a content creator and or a boxer or whatever, or the father of a boxer. And then Miss Rachel Donaire comes up and just fucks all you guys' whole world up because she started mentioning names and said, I spoke to this person to clear this thing up. So I know I'm coming with the actual receipts. And I'm going to say it right in front of Brian Norman Jr.'s father. And that's what she did. And she just exposed that whole situation to whereas everyone from that point on had to say, yeah, we were all clout chasing. We knew what was going on. We knew everybody. Everybody was clout chasing. It was a clout chase rave held somewhere out in the desert. You feel what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, we accepted it for that. But then there was those content creators born in hate who were like, what you mean Rachel Donaire? Who is she and when was she? No, okay, she's the wife of, Hall of Famer, Nonito Donaire. Yeah, but what she know about this and that and all of this other stuff, and she can't be coming out and saying this because what she's saying don't make no sense. Yeah, but Eddie Hearn is co-signing it. Really listen to what Eddie Hearn did. Yeah, but he also, it's like, bro, can we just accept the facts as being facts? Why do we have to debate over the facts? That is the craziest shit to me in this era, just of humanity. Like people will argue with a person, who has a lifetime tenure in that particular thing. This is what I do. I used to be a fighter. Now my son's a fighter. And, you know, we know the ins and outs. I do promotion, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, but you don't know shit about boxing. Wow, says the couch potato YouTube guy. Telling this motherfucker he don't know shit about boxing. Nah, you wrong, because that's not how contracts work. Well, how many contracts have you ever written, signed, or been a part of? None, but I'm just saying. What the fuck could you possibly say? Wait, just because you fuck around with contract, that don't mean everybody else don't know about a contract. Yes, the fuck it does. That's exactly what that means. So I'm not out here trying to talk like I'm the smartest person in the room. If you put me in a position to where I am the smartest person in this room. That shit doesn't happen unless you put me in that position. I don't come into a boxing conversation feeling that, you know, I know everything. I know contracts. I know who's talking about what kind of money and what fight date. I can even tell you what kind of motherfucking pen these niggas signed the contract or the term sheets with, because I was there. No, I don't talk like that.
I got a checkmate though, because I this is what I want to do. This is a stake in the ground. So if you catch this on the playback, holler at me, talk to me. I talk back. I'm gonna play something, and I got to give credit to the owner. This is Ness. This is what he do, and we're gonna go ahead and put a stake in the ground right here with this, and people not gonna be able to have what they call plausible deniability, like when you commit a crime but you don't tell the other, you don't tell somebody else all of the details, so that if they ever ask, they can have plausible deniability because they really don't know. So we're gonna nip this in the bud. So any conversation I'm with, or anybody that's actually watching the channel, for me, they're actually going to hear this. So I got to give salute to Ness. I got to put this up here because I don't want to infringe upon. This is his stuff. This is his. But this is the beauty of some of the things that what Ness do, and the biggest part that I appreciate when they do an interview and they actually talk. I'm not going to do an interview, but a caller called in spazzing out, like all of these fans that be all enraged and emotional about shit that is out of their control, but they're stuck in a rut. I want y'all to listen to what they actually say. I want y'all to listen to what they say. This is a copyright disclaimer. This allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. So this is research, teaching, criticism, and news reporting. I'm gonna play this. Listen to this.
You're saying that now, bro. I'm talking. He been that's the bell, and you obviously are not taking into account everything that's being said, my bro. You saying he's saying that now, but you calling in saying he capping. I mean, I'm lost.
Yeah. You got a Mando. They gotta fight that. Get that out the way.
Yeah,
I feel like that's the only reason why that Stanionis fight happened, right? Wasn't Stanionis supposed to fight Giasov or his mandatory?
Yep. That was he inherited Stanionis' mandatory.
Right, exactly, yep. That's what happened. Yeah, boxing can be confusing, man.
Say what?
I said just with all the sanctioning bodies and all the different rules, it could be hard to follow. Like, you know, he just won a belt. I get some people think he don't gotta fight the mandatory because he just got the belt, but you fail to realize Shirgov, whatever, Giasov took the step aside in order for this fight to happen, which means he's still in line.
Oops.
Yeah, man, he's owed his shot, you know. But that's what that last caller isn't understanding, that, you know, Eddie doing an interview saying the boots is available isn't really true.
That's why I'm saying he can't even look in the camera and tell y'all the lie. And it's the casuals who are gonna eat that lie up, man. It's y'all, the dude who just called in, who doesn't know that Boots has a mandatory he has to fulfill.
Yep. Okay.
Okay.
We tried to told y'all when it was the first time when it was Karen. It's like that fight is not gonna happen. He has a mandatory. And he did not file a paperwork. What is you talking? Where is you getting this information from? This, and that. I'm like, then you're not following the story, because I'm a person that don't follow a lot like that. Not like a content creator. You feel what I'm saying? But how come I know this fight is not gonna happen? Because he has a mandatory that they did not file a paperwork so he could do the unification. They'll give you the time to do the unification, but you gotta file a paperwork and you gotta pay the fees. He didn't do that. He asked for an extension. For what? So you can stall and give us this perception, this reality that we asked for the extension so we can actually make the fight. Because if Boots really wanted to make that fight and Eddie Hearn wanted to make that, they make the fights. It's just that simple. And now they're trying to tear this young dude down again because he's got real leverage.
He got real leverage, and he got even more leverage. Why? Because dealing with Eddie in the type of promotion and the way that press conference went right after the Montestaniones fight, Boots came out. I don't know who advised him to say it, but he came out and he said, man, we gave Stanionis even more money. So it was another creator out here who pointed this out as well. He pointed out as well, which I was thinking as well. He said, so it kind of make it look like you got something against the black man. He's like, because I'm adding this part. When the purse bid, I'm adding this part right here. When the purse bid came up, Eddie lost that purse bid.
Yes,
Boots
sir.
was in a world of hurt because, like I said, like we keep saying, he didn't take the steps and pay the money and notify the IBF, hey, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna get this extension. We try to do this and this and this. That belt, the sanctioning bodies, IBF is one of the strictest ones. They the ones that kind of play it as close to the vest and by the standard as everybody else. He lost it. He was in a world of hurt because Karan and them actually won the purse bid, meaning they had control of the fight.
Yes, sir.
So Eddie and them, they had to go behind closed doors. Ain't no telling how much money he had to pay extra for Karan. So you got extra pay for Karan, extra adjustment for that, and then he had to come back to Philly. Now you got Boots voluntarily stating that they paid Stanionis more money. But all Brian Norman was saying, all we wanted was, you know what I'm saying, this is what we wanted. We didn't turn it down. We just said, all right, well, give us this. If we're going to go to hostile territory, we just got our belt. We got our own career. We got a path for ourselves outside of you. Just give us this. And then boom, y'all say the man duck.
Yep.
So it's like, do you not want to pay Brian Norman? Or is it a big elephant in the room to where even though people talk all this shit about how Boots will beat shit down Brian Norman's leg, is it something about that fight that y'all really don't want, to where y'all want to drag this man or have him coming in the fight feeling like, oh man, I ain't get paid the way, having his morale low and having all the fans trash him every time his father speak? And his father didn't even, I've seen his father get a little, he's gotten a little extra before. But he has toned it down a lot. Like business as usual. Like it's like, because you say it, you like, man, is it that Brian Norman actually turned the corner? We see him progressing. We see his style kind of developing and changing. Then we see his father kind of pull back the rails, and all he's really doing is addressing what's being said.
Yeah, it looked like they had a long conversation with each other, and it was more or less, all right, son, you're the fighter. I'm your dad. I play my role, you play your role. When it comes down to certain things, I'm not gonna say nothing because it's your future. You gotta carve this shit out. And Brian Norman's father looked like he's the type of dude that'll sit down and say some shit like this to his son, Because when I was looking at one of those other interviews, you feel what I'm saying? He started talking, and then he was like, look, I ain't really got nothing much to say. I'm gonna let my son, just tell y'all exactly what it is. Then the dude turns around and asks his son the same question that the dad just answered, and it's like, listen, stop talking about the Boots situation. We were all capping off of it. That's just it. We knew he had a fight. He knew he had a fight. He knew they didn't do the right thing to get around that fight. So at the end of the day, we all just decided to take advantage of the situation. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I got no issue with that. That's the proper way you're supposed to clout chase. You see the situation, you know what it is. People don't really know the details, so you can clout chase it and hopefully build off your next big fight or the next power move you're gonna make. When you look at that whole situation of how it aged, right? It aged well for the two of them because Boots got to go on, fight Emmanuel Stanionis. You feel what I'm saying? Fought Stanionis, got his official certificate that he's legitimate right now. He's a legitimate champ. Can't nobody take that from him. He defended his belt and he beat another champion. And he's also Ring Magazine champion. So, okay, there's a certain level of legitimacy right there. For Brian Norman, he's now going to become, if he wins the fight, he's going to become an international star, which is something that Boots is not yet has accomplished. So Brian Norman can stick that thumb in his hat. Boots can say, yeah, I'm unified now. I'm ring champ. I'm Ring Magazine champ. I am the #1 guy in this division. Yeah, so that whole clout chase situation, in hindsight, worked out perfectly for both fighters. It may even age a little bit better, depending on what happens after the Jin Sasaki fight and whatever direction Boots decides to go in. If he decides to stay there and say, you know what, I want that Brian Norman fight because that's legacy right there. The dude has done everything he can to make this a 50-50 fight.
Yep.
Now it's ready. Ain't no more seasoning, turn the fire off, because if you let it reduce anymore, it's gonna start to get salty. And you feel what I'm saying? So yeah. At the end of the day, it's the type of thing that, okay, it looks ugly, it looks shitty, you know what I'm saying? But there is a silver lining in it. Now, this bullshit Eddie Hearns just did, you just took the silver lining and then pissed all over it. You feel what I'm saying? Now the shit is tarnished, it's turning green, it looks weird now, it stinks like old piss. Like, bro, you don't shit on your fighter's biggest payday if he's talking about staying at 147. Why would you do that?
And
why would you let your fighter come out and say, well, he isn't all of that, when he's actually your fighter's toughest competition at 47?
And look, it's like they playing chess. And if you care about the sport and the growth, and you're just not an only fan, you just want to see the creme de la creme get it on, then you'll recognize that some of the talking points Eddie used was, you only made this in your last fight, and you ain't, what have you done? And you done it. So now, after knocking it, and saying that he never done anything, and they was talking about Top Rank and how he got set up, the man went over to a dude in California's backyard and crumbled his ass. Then he came back with a knockout artist and made him quit. If he go over there to Japan, pick up, you know what I'm saying, like 1 point whatever, you know what I'm saying, close to $2 million international, and get that and grab that fan base, now all your talking points is done. Outside of you having some leverage for being unified, and now he done added more to his repertoire. And guess what? Senior, all he's saying is, listen, he was the only one saying, listen, right after the fight, he said, we just wanted him to say my son's name so we can fight. He's like, he showed no interest. He wasn't capping and talking shit because he didn't even say his name after the fight. He said, I don't know why y'all talking about him. He's not good. What Brian Norman said this morning was, listen, We can't sign nothing with nothing specific because we got a fight in front of us. That would be irresponsible. It would be irresponsible to try to go in and do anything knowing that we got this thing right here on deck. He said, listen, all he got to do is wait the 4 weeks. Once we clear this food that's on our plate right now, we want that fight. He said, we'll want it in September, anywhere between September and December. We want the fight. So how are you ducking when you got 1.7 and an opponent on the plate and it's 4 weeks out and you already in training camp, mid in training camp? It's like, it's irresponsible to negate all of that, just say, oh man, he need to pull out of this fight. It's like, come on, man.
Now, here's the funny part. When we always talk about same energy, right? People talk about, you know,
Salute, Pop.
People talk about, you know, Tank when he did a double negotiation. You feel what I'm saying? For what's the name? And then Ryan Garcia. He negotiated both those fights at the same time. If we talk about it in a sense of Shakur was supposed to did a double negotiation when it was Joe Cordina, and then it was supposed to be Zepeda, which is a fight that was a cross promotion. You feel what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So when we look at some of these situations, they're doing this beforehand. And you're going to get these goofy motherfuckers out here that's going to be like, yeah, but you just used an example, so you making my point. Well, what point am I making? The fact that they did it before anybody started camping and all of this other stuff. It was a fight deal when you signed to that promoter. You feel what I'm saying? Or it was just a fight deal. Now, when you're talking about what Eddie Hearn is doing, you're coming into the middle of all of this. After the fight was announced, Brian Norman is starting his camp. We got a fight date. We got all of this other stuff. And you want him to take his energy and attention off of training for right now. For right now, until he gets maybe a Barrios or Boots. This is the biggest fight of his career. This is going to be the most meaningful fight of his career. You feel what I'm saying? Because if he wins it, sky's the limit for him. He loses it, people are gonna put him in different situations. You know what I'm saying? Tough out. You feel what I'm saying? Hard puncher. Nobody's gonna want to give him a chance because they're gonna say, well, you went over there and you lost to Jin Sasaki. Okay, but he went over there and lost to the number one ranked in Japan 147 pounder. It's not like Jin Sasaki was some number 15th ranked dude in Japan, and this was supposed to be a showcase fight, and you went over there and got stopped. It might be. I don't know how Jin is going to show up for this one, but this is a fight he really wants. This is a fight Brian Norman wants. So this might be fireworks. It could be fight of the year. So he's looking at all of that, and now you're telling him to stop that and go into negotiations, and you're putting the caveat that, no, you need to negotiate with us now because we're not willing to wait for you wait for the 4 weeks. So you can negotiate this fight now. Stop lying and telling people you can't. Well, the truth is he cannot. That is a breach of contract if he started to negotiate that fight knowing that he's already signed for this fight. You can't do it in the middle. You either do it in the beginning or you do it at the end. You can negotiate as many fights as you want in the beginning. 10-fight deal. You got a list of motherfuckers you're gonna fight. As long as you keep winning, you get to go through all of them. That's how that shit works. It doesn't work to whereas I already have a contract. I'm contractually bound to this contract, and now I'm going to start negotiating with something else. This is why neither Errol Spence or Terrence Crawford could move on until the two of them knew what was going to go on with their rematch. This is why a fight being mandated and Tank wanting to say, listen, I'm thinking about exercising my rematch rights. This is why people are on pause with that situation. You're not hearing Lamont Rose saying, I've already started negotiations with Shakur or Frank Martin or somebody. No, because legally these niggas is bound to shit. So this is how the shit works, people. Don't let one of these internet motherfuckers fool you. You feel what I'm saying? And tell you, no, you can do contract at any given point. Yes, and that's when your fucking ass will get sued.
I got one for you, AC. What you think? What you think people would say if, since they feel like that, if we said, all right, then, well, Shakur, you on that interview, we take it by your word. You said you would go up to 54 and fight Conor Ben. Well, you affiliated with Eddie. Yeah, you got your Mando, but fuck that Mando. I mean, yeah, you got that on the way. That's in the pipeline. Y'all gonna fight. But go ahead and sign up to fight Conor Ben. Since Ryan didn't win and Boots got a mandatory, so and Eddie never talked about Boots and Conor Ben, go ahead and sign a contract to fight Conor Ben next. You got, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you said if it makes sense, if there's a bag involved.
Here you go, body. Here you go.
But it all makes sense if you talk about going over Shakur going over to the UK. I don't recall Shakur fighting outside of the United States as of yet. You feel what I'm saying? So you go over to the UK
as a pro.
Yeah, as a pro.
Okay.
You feel what I'm saying? So you go over to the UK and you put on the weight. You said there's no problem with the weight because people don't know that you be out here sparring dudes that are damn near heavyweights, if not heavyweights.
And you spar Bud you spar Bud all the time.
Yeah, you spar heavyweight, MMA fighters and shit like that. So you 100% confident that you can go up to 54 and beat a guy like Conor Ben. Okay. All right. So just to be, that nagging ass Devin Haney fan, then if a fight came up between you and Dev at 47, would you take it? Because you just said 54, 47 is less than 54, and even 40 is less than that.
Oh,
so let's just say a fight with Gary Russell.
What about if Devin still want to be, he still want to acclimatize and he want to have another catch weight at 44?
Yeah. So what if that happens? You feel what I'm saying? This is the problem sometimes with when people put their foot in their mouth because you think you saying something that the fans are gonna latch on to and be like, ooh, ah, ooh. Yeah, they'll do that. But guys like us will be like, hey, wait a minute. So if you're willing to go do that with the level that's Conor Ben, that's, not really done too much and all of this other stuff. Just this is something I really wanted to always just speak about. In that Conor Ben thing, you said, yeah, I sparred Conor Ben before. So didn't you previously make a statement that said, if I sparred you, I ain't really got no interest in fighting you? But everybody that's the big name, you either tell me that you sparred them and you would love to fight them. So how does that work, Mr. Stevenson? Because you keep saying things, but your movements don't coincide with that. You talk about 54, you talk about 40, you feel what I'm saying? You told us that no, the fight between me and Dev could never happen because he's already up at 47. But weeks later, you talk about Conor Ben at 54, which is a higher weight than what Dev is currently fighting at right now.
He said verbatim, he said, nah, man, I'm a lightweight, man. I'm a lightweight. I'm probably not going to 47. And then you jump out in the interview and say you'll fight Conor Ben at 54.
Yep.
So as a I'm not a Shakurian, but as a Shakur fan, I'm like, if I was in a debate and I had to defend this ain't got nothing to do with Tank. This ain't got nothing to do with Gary Antoine Russell. It ain't got nothing to do with Matias. It ain't got nothing to do with Inoue. Ain't got nothing to do with O'Shaquie. Ain't got nothing to do with Tito Mercado. I'm just a Shakur fan. I'm putting on my Shakur fan hat. How the fuck do I defend that?
Yeah. How do I defend that? And that's the question I'd love to really ask them, because I would just be surprised on their answer. I would
Because-
just be, no matter what the answer is, what they don't understand is if you're ever asked that question, don't answer it, because it's a trick and a trap.
But see, I already have the answer, because I have proof, I have videos, I have 2-hour-long shows to where I have shown, I even got my little edited videos to where I keep the same fucking energy. Because when Subriel Matias was looking for a fight and he couldn't get nobody, and Boots was looking for a fight and he couldn't get nobody, I was saying, all right, well, shoot, if Boots taking all these 40s moving up, which I'm tired of seeing, then Subriel and Boots, y'all both under the IBF, get it on. But guess what? I also said, well, Shakur, when he said he'll fight Pitbull Cruz at 40, he said he'll fight Tio at 40. I said, oh, so that'll open you up. Since you got the WBC, why you don't ever mention Puelo? I said, oh, it's crazy because you at 35 and you saying you a lightweight, but you'll go to 40 only for certain fighters. I said, no, see, as a Shakur fan, if I put that hat on again and say, okay, I'm a Shakur fan. If I'm ever in a debate and they say keep it all Shakur, which most Shakurians can't, then I'm going to defend it by saying I keep the same fucking energy. Because when you open up your mouth and you say, hey, I'll go to 40 and fight this guy, it's almost like when you go into a bar and you yell out the wrong shit and everybody turn around and the record scratch like, what? Okay, so you open up the window for me to say, okay, cool. That means you if you go to that division to fight this person, because I remember being on that side when Tank decided to go up to 40 and Josh Taylor was the guy. But he went up there for Barrios and everybody shitted on him. I had to endure that. Everybody shitted on him for picking Barrios. And I'm like, hey, man, like, damn, like, yeah, man, if you go to that division and shit, you should be going to fight the creme de la creme. Even though they failed to name that when, like, Roy Jones went up there with the Ruiz guy, and Ruiz was looking like the weakest link. But I keep the same energy. You know why? Because when Devin went up to 40, I said, why do you want to fight Regis? Because Regis was looking like the weakest link at the time with Tio and Matias. And
why didn't you just go up to 40 to fight Tio?
Right. You see what I'm saying? But I keep the same energy, so you ain't gonna be able to trap me.
Yeah, and in that situation, I would say, all right, he's got to get acclimated to the weight. Okay, we'll give him the acclimated fight to fight this guy. But if you're not going up there to really face Tio and try to make that Tio fight, just don't even fuck around at 40, because you're not trying to see Puelo, you're not trying to see Matias, because those two dudes are legitimate problems. You feel what I'm saying? So it brings me back to where I could put both of them.
He wanted to spar Matias.
Yeah. That's why I was gonna bring both of them into the same conversation, because Dev didn't want to fight Matias. You feel what I'm saying? And neither did Shakur. Shakur wanted to spar him. He said, "Nah, I don't want to fight him. I want to spar him." So dude was like, "Why would you want to spar him?" You know what I'm saying? When the bad could be in a fight. Nah, I'm a 35 pounder. Oh, you're a 35 pounder for Matias, but you're not a 35 pounder for Pitbull Cruz at 40. You're not a 35 pounder for you feel what I'm saying, for Conor Ben at 50 motherfucking 4. Like, bro, I mean, come on. And when you try to tell these guys, listen, I'm gonna hold you accountable because you just keep telling me hold everybody else accountable, and you follow what guys do, not what they say. Okay, all right. But you won't tell me, you're gonna sit here and tell me the guy that told everybody that if he's not on the card, that the card is not gonna sell. You gonna tell me that guy, the guy who's saying he's the biggest fight, Turk gotta learn and the Arabs gotta learn, who's really the #1 and the best boxers and stuff like that, so you can make proper deals. Basically saying, listen, I should be even getting more money if the Turk really knew who I was and really knew my skill set. You got to show that man that. You feel what I'm saying? So if you're not showing it, how does he see it? So with that being said, if that's the guy you dudes want to land your plane on and everything, why did he fight Paddy? You mean to tell me he doesn't have any say in who his fight gonna be with? I mean, he didn't know. It was a phone call that went to his lawyers, and that was just between his lawyers and Eddie, and he was just in the background punching the punching bag, not really giving a fuck about who the guy is. You feel what I'm saying? And they just happened to say, you know what? We're going to give you the weakest competition out of the 3 fighters who are screaming, out of the other 2 fighters who are screaming to fight you. You might have beat those guys. You feel what I'm saying? You might have beat them the same way you beat Paddy. You feel what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, yeah, they were saying they was in the gym, but were they in fighting shape? I know they wanted to fight with you, but were they just asking for the bag? You feel what I'm saying? But you chose Paddy. So there's a reason why Paddy was chosen. Just like there was a reason why old boy was chosen for Devin. So we have to remember these guys move the way they move. Shakur can't sit here and tell us, no, after this, I'm gonna be on top of all the negotiation. Both you and Jerron had that come to Jesus moment, to whereas y'all don't want to look bad because, promotions and the way this shit is hitting the media is making you look bad, so you want to be a part of it and everything. And then your first opportunity to show that this is what it is, you pick Paddy. 2 legitimate fights that people are like, yeah, I don't know their names, but when I go back and look, these guys could be a real threat. And you chose Paddy, the electrician. Say it again for you guys that hate the fact that there's electricians in the world today. The electrician. I bet you some of you motherfuckers just look at an electrician and be like, I hate you. I can't stand your ass, you electrician ass motherfucker. You feel what I'm saying? Because y'all don't want to realize that.
This the funny part, AC. They believe Paddy put on a great enough performance to where they gave him a deal and got him back in the ring, and he said he don't gotta be an electrician no more.
Yeah.
If the performance, now he did do what he needed to do and stop the dude, but if the performance was what it was, Paddy gonna be like, man, I got to get back to work because shit, boxing is over. That didn't happen, but it's just, don't be mad at us. This is what I want to say. Don't be mad at the critical thinking fans who actually listen to what you say and watch what you do, and don't co-sign everything or be a hindsight is 2020 looking ass. And we have questions. We appreciate what you bring to the table, the skill set and everything you did to culminate everything you got to this point. Don't be mad at us for being critical thinkers and not sheep, and not analyzing. Because I'm gonna ask you a question, AC. When the last time you seen a video about Williams and Pater?
Oh man. Yo, I can't even remember. I can't remember seeing a legit video about Williams and Pater. Even when he went through the 2 fights with Tevin Farmer.
Right.
There was no videos on him.
So and then if what Shakur said is correct, and let's remove, because they say, well, he really meant not just him, the fight with him as a Pater. So let's take Shakur and Zapata off. Are you trying to tell me that as the WBC champion who beat the Boogeyman and Gary Anton Russell, it's not a whole country of Dominicans that don't want to see Puello defend his strap against a guy named Subriel Matias, who actually sent somebody up. He didn't send them to the graveyard. He did like I did. He sent them to the upper room.
Yeah.
So it's not a whole country full of Puerto Ricans that don't want to see Subriel Matias with another bite at the apple, getting another strap, especially when he ain't even going to be under the IBF rehydration, how we saw Boost just now. You trying to tell me that it's not going to be anybody that don't want to see the Dominican and Puello against Subriel Sub-Zero No Mas Tias El Orgullo de Martinillo fight? You trying to tell me ain't nobody out there that want to see that fight? They nobody gonna watch because they take off Shakur and Zepeda.
Yep, nobody in England is gonna be interested in that card because Shakur and Zepeda's on it, and not the hometown hero in Hamza Shiraz. Nobody's gonna want to see that. No,
especially after the controversy, because we know controversy sells.
Yeah.
A lot of these fighters are actually showing us because they create controversy and they say that that's what keeps them relevant and that's what gets them popping. But even after Berlanga fighting the dude off a 10-year bid and sparking him in the first round and sharing the ring with Canelo where he got dropped, and then witnessing Hamza Shiraz and the whole situation with Turkey and all that, ain't nobody gonna want to see what happened when Hamza Shiraz moves up, more acclimated, fuller, not draining down after a tough fight with Adames. Nobody gonna want to see him getting in there with a knockout artist like Edgar Berlanga. Ain't nobody gonna want to see that if they take Shakur and Zepeda off.
Yeah, and that's a good fight for Hamza because it's kind of a showcase fight, but it's dangerous because if Edgar Berlanga gets to start the teeing off on you, you put them hands in your pocket like you did with Adames, you are going to fucking sleep, Hamza. And you are my guy, and I'm just letting you know. He's not on your level as far as boxing goes, but as far as power goes, he's on your level. So don't go in there. You feel what I'm saying? With any doubts or anything like that, because he's gonna be the guy that says, "Yeah, you need to retire right now. You done reached your ceiling when you beat up that dude a couple of fights ago. That was your ceiling. Take your ass back to 160 or do something, but 68 ain't for you." You feel me? So Hamza is in a situation right now where he has to show up and show out. And Edgar Berlanga is the perfect opponent for you. You should be able to outbox him. You should be able to do a whole lot of shit to Berlanga. You feel what I'm saying? You're younger, you're thirsty, you're hungry. If you get the stoppage of Berlanga, oh my God, because you beat the guy who lost and got a parade here in New York. So, I mean, I don't remember where the parade was, but I'm just saying he got a parade. So, either way, you beat him, they should give you a parade. You feel what I'm saying? So, at the end of the day, Hamza, I'm riding with you. I'm expecting you to win. But if you come in there and you fight him like you did Adames, I'm expecting you to get knocked the fuck out. I don't think the fight is going 12 rounds. I'm thinking Berlanga's going to notice that, and Berlanga is not going to be as cautious as Adames is because Berlanga's going to be like, this is my division. So, yeah, that's that situation. But at the end of the day, bro, where Shakur think that, people with insight on that fight alone is not going to want to watch that fight over because Ewan Zepeda's not there, that's delusional. That's ludicrous. And I'm not talking about the rapper. You feel what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, bro, it's like, listen, Shakur, you and Zepeda, if y'all headlined the card in Vegas, fine. People ain't got no problem with that. But
what's the other fight on that card anyway? Well, that's one more on there, right?
Huh?
It's one more on there, or that's it?
I think it's one more, but I don't even think they said it's supposed to be 4 fights, but I don't think the fourth one was like, it might have been announced and people just overshined it because of the the other fights outside of Shakur, and then Shakur saying what he said. So I don't know. It might be. I'm not even sure. I think there's supposed to be 4 fights on the main card.
I thought. Hold on. Let me see. Oh yeah. How could I forget? Oh my goodness. Oh man, shame on me.
I know it's gonna be I knew it was gonna be a situation like that.
One of my guys, Mr. Outside the ring, I respect everything and everybody, but inside the ring, I don't respect nothing, man. David Morrell fighting, making his comeback.
Yeah, Morrell was supposed to dance. I knew it was gonna be something like that because the Morrell announcement kind of went under the water, because when Morrell was announced, that's when Shakur was saying what he was saying.
Yeah, and they and PBC, they dark right now on certain things. Right now they promoting certain things because they go in order, kind of like, and they kind of do that whole thing. Just like you notice that when the Super Bowl coming, they don't make any announcements because like we didn't really when was that we found out? It was after the Super Bowl. Like when the lead up to the Super Bowl, we didn't hear shit, and it's like they let the Super Bowl go and they let that weekend go, and then that next day or that second day after, that's when everything dropped. They kind of do it like that so they don't have people paying attention to fights that are yet to come. That's why they kind of hold it, not damn near, I ain't gonna say to the last minute, but they hold it to have a proper window to where once it's announced, okay, you can focus on that because this is what we're getting right now at this time. And they might bleed something out once that's the promotion for that get rolling. But they've been kind of, you haven't heard anything about Mel. You heard a little something about Jamel, but you don't, nothing in concrete. You got Zoo, you got Keith Thurman, you got and this David Morrell. Like they haven't even did their rollout on any of the promotion for any of them guys. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But I'm pretty sure, because I was reading that, man, this fight, I mean, of course it's with Zepeda and Shakur, like considering it that being part of the package, this is one of the most underrated cards Turkey has put on, in my opinion. This was the one that was like, oh shit, because they got because I said that the Subriel Matias, it's debatable, but I said the Subriel Matias versus Quake, like me as a hardcore, I said, man, that really should be the headliner. You got a former champ who just sent somebody up who was running around being ducked by everybody in the IBF, fighting a dude who beat the boogeyman in Puerto, and he's a 2-time champ. So you got a former champ who just lost his shit to Liam Barrow, but that belt kind of got passed to Pero, and then it got passed to Hitchison, and he's making another bite at the apple, not under the IBF, a former champ going against a 2-time champ.
Yeah.
And those are two, that's Dominican versus Puerto Rican, it's supposed to be in New York. I'm like, man, I was thinking, man, that had all the rights really to be the main card, for real. Yeah. It's just, they don't really, neither one of them speak much English, even though it doesn't speak a little more.
As far as talent-wise and severity of the fight and all of that other kind of stuff around it, yeah, it should be the headline, but we got to be honest and say, you know what? Because neither one of them speak great English, it's not. If you're not a hardcore fan, you're not going to really know these guys, right. And it's not going to put the casuals' asses in seats or bring the A-listers unless the A-listers are hardcore boxing fans.
Right.
Shakur could have been that guy, but you're not reliable. And you have the moniker that you've earned in being boring. That's what the general public says about you. They know who you are. They're like, yeah, he's talented, but he's boring. You feel what I'm saying? That negates you and Zepeda.
I'll put it like this. Even based on my guy's last performance against Lamont Roach, I don't give a fuck where you put him. They would never try to pull no shit where they gonna put him on no undercard.
All day.
And you didn't have Boots be on his undercard. You didn't have David Benavidez be on his undercard. Demetrius Andre be on his undercard. Gary Antoine Russell on his undercard. Like, you got more people that could headline on their own shit being on his undercard. But if that was the case, Tank wouldn't be on no undercard. So it's like, man, tread lightly, man, because like I was saying earlier, man, all you really do is put a bigger magnifying glass on shit, and it'll have people really doing the research and looking at, like, you gonna start having people look at your resume. They're gonna start doing what I do, where I put them on the scale and I look at all the advantages and all the disadvantages. And sometimes the attention that you be wanting and craving, it gets attention for people like myself, to where it's like, maybe I was caught up in fandemonium. Let me look at this and let me look at that. And I start connecting dots, and I'm like, oh shit. Yeah. I was tripping.
Yeah. Bro, I came to that realization about so many fighters I was previously big on. And then when I started to run the numbers on them and really look at things and shit like that, I was like, oh yeah, I was just caught up in that. He not gonna beat this dude. If he fight this guy, no, he not gonna beat him. You feel what I'm saying? If this dude fight this dude, yeah, that's gonna be crazy. And as I started to go down the line, I just realized that, hey, the type of fighters I like, these guys are not really getting their just dues. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if they get the opportunity, they're going to show up and show out. Now, some of these guys, I see the business of boxing trying to line you up. You feel what I'm saying? And when they line you up, then if you don't show up and show out, then guess what happens to you? You wind up, people start talking about, well, where he's at right now, and he just took a loss, that tournament shit that they talking about, that might be good for him. Or maybe he need to go over here or go over there. And it's like, yeah, that's just one loss. You feel what I'm saying? You're talking about him going down to a low-level tournament that's full of newbies and shit like that. What's that gonna do for him? Like, what would Charles Conwell get out of going to that tournament? Like, what does that do to him? For him?
Yeah, I thought about Conwell, and on the flip side, Brian Norman, because people would tell you, oh yeah, because you can see the writing on the wall. They was trying to line Brian Norman up, and that actually adds even more intrigue, because they tried to line him up, but he crumpled dude. He went in his backyard and crumpled him, and then he came back and he did it again. So now he got people lined up for his belt. Like, he got Rohan Polanco talking all this noise, and he got the thing with Boots, and then Jen actually came out. So you talking about being under the radar, and then on the flip side, you got Conwell, where he was about to be an eliminator in the business of boxing, made it to where as soon as he lost, the dude that he lost to, who already had 3 losses, is actually going to get a shot for the belt that Fundora dropped.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you don't show up and show out, you can end up how they doing Conwell Greasy. But if you show up and you do above and beyond, you can go on and start, taking off the runway and actually getting some height on your career, like what it looked like Brian Norman is doing.
Yeah.
The whole thing is, as boxing fans, in the conversation, as I kind of land the plane, we can't be a part of the whole divide and conquer shit. If you part of a tribe and you only gonna be part of that tribe, okay, be part of that tribe. That means you shouldn't really interject if that's all you're gonna be about, because it's not gonna balance out the conversation when you're trying to have something effective about a topic and be subjective about whatever it is going on right then and there. We should not be adding on to the divide and conquer strategy, because I find it real odd that we let Eddie from all the way across the pond divide us over here about a fight that ain't on deck. There's been a whole bunch of talking and all this and this and that, and a whole bunch of people picking and choosing when they want to recognize what a sanctioning body's power is, when they want to recognize the true history of a negotiation. You know, and many other things that we do that we tend to parking lot when we want to, or go fast and furious, gone in 60 seconds about some other shit.
Yep. It's that selective shit, man. And just to land it on basically the topic right here. If you're the type of person that you just want to come up and your whole thing is, yeah, I go online and I go on the panels because I just want to cook people, then you're the type of person that feeds into the divide and conquer. You're the divide and conquers. You know, like they say, you're tailor-made for that situation. That's who you are. You're tailor-made for the divide and conquer arguments, because that's going to be the majority of where you get your content that you're claiming you're cooking people on. It comes from the divide and conquer narrative. So you'll have dudes even moving forward talking about, I can't wait to Brian Norman. I can't wait to see this Brian Norman Jin Sasaki fight. Oh man, listen, man, I don't even want to talk about that dude because he ducking boots. Like why he need to go over there and go all the way to Japan? You know what I'm saying? And he got boots right there. Eddie just sent him another offer and he turned it down. And it's like, yeah, he sent them an offer knowing that he has a mandatory that he inherited, just like he was Bud's inherited mandatory. Just like Quran was his mandatory. So this is a man that should be extremely familiar with the whole mandatory thing, but they keep playing dudes like you because they want you to be on the side of trying to divide the fan base from supporting Brian Norman, so Boots can conquer the narrative that he is a duck fighter. Don't nobody want to fight him. You got to pay guys exorbitant amounts of money to fight him. Well, if you're talking about guys who haven't reached, legitimately the $800,000-$900,000 or $500,000 per fight threshold, then paying them $1.7 million in that case is not really an exorbitant amount. Not when you're talking in comparison of $6 to $20-something million fights. Like, this is still small money in terms of boxing, but it's big money for them and anyone who's who's into everything and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, it's not the type of thing that is really going to determine whether or not a fight is going to be made or not. And then they say, listen, you can't blame Shakur because he knows his worth. And if he don't want to accept that little bit of money, then that's what it is for Shakur. But then when it comes down to Brian, oh my God, he ducked out of that fight. That was like 700 times the amount of money he ever made in his goddamn life, and he turned it down. And now he going over there, and it's like, yeah, you're gonna hear all of these talking points. Me, I don't mind getting thinking like that, because then it prepares me for the goofy motherfuckers that's gonna try to come at me with them talking points. I'm just gonna laugh at you and be like, yeah, that's funny as hell. You could go to Body's channel and hear us cooking on these same type of talking points, because we knew dudes like you were coming to try to just discredit Brian Norman Jr. to prop up Boots and Boots' narrative. You know what I'm saying? Because you're part of the divide and conquer movement, not part of the boxing conversation movement. And if you guys want to say, let's hold people accountable, then you're not part of the divide and conquer movement. because accountability is just accountability. It's I listened to what you said and watch what you did. So in this situation, we're cooking on the situation in real time.
Salute, man. Salute, Crush. But yeah, we cook. Go ahead, AC.
No, I was just saying, yo, listen, we cooking on the situation in real time. We're giving insight and boxing conversation to what Eddie Hearn just did in trying to discredit Brian Norman Jr. To whereas we put those stakes in the ground, so when the goofies start to try to come up to us and make the arguments when we're on other panels, we already got the stake in the ground. You got the little gardener shovel where you trying to dig the hole right then and there, and it's like no, bro. We had a sharp stick, like a real wooden stake, and we had a mallet. We didn't have to dig a hole. We just pounded that shit in the ground forcefully because we knew what it was. So, that's where I land my plane on that one.
Well, good cook, AC. Thanks for coming through, man, and chopping it up, man.
Yeah,
definitely an asset to the channel, man.
Yeah, definitely, bro. You know what I'm saying. This is where we could go without the yelling over each other and some of the other things. And I don't mind it at times and stuff like that. You feel what I'm saying? Because that makes the whole conversation a little chippy, a little fun, whatever. But you know what I'm saying? You just want to get down to the meat and potatoes of meat and potatoes. You feel what I'm saying? You're going to get that over at Smoke Sessions, and you're going to get that over here. You know what I'm saying? With Bodywork, and you're going to get that over there at Crush the Legends Jump Off. So y'all got 3 choices out there to follow if you really want real boxing conversation. So take it from a dude who's not a content creator. You feel what I'm saying? I just call myself the educated fan. And that's where I land my plane. Great show, Body.
All right, man. We'll get up, man. We'll talk later.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, bro. Enjoy your evening. Yeah, man. And I got an analogy, man, just to wrap up this whole situation, man, because I don't know, man. I don't know if y'all, because I say it's 2 different Eddies, man. Eddie has grown on me. I do appreciate some of the things that Eddie do, but I am getting tired of these same old refried beans, man. Like, so many times it's only so many times you can fry beans, man, and they still good. But I put it like this: when you go to a restaurant, if what lines up on the left side of the menu don't line up with what's in your wallet, or for some of you pussy ass motherfuckers in your purse, if what lines up on that menu don't line up with what you got in your purse, you can't afford it. You can want all the steak and lobster and shrimp you want, but if you got it and you can afford it, then you pay it. Because it's obvious that when it came down to staying honest, you wanted it. Eddie said you can afford it. Money magically appeared. I don't understand that when it come down to Brian Norman and them, who got one of the Infinity Stones that you claim you want, all of a sudden he pricing himself out and he don't want it. When people start really doing a audit, and when they audit everything that you put into Karen, as far as losing the purse bid, as far as what you paid, all the extra you had to pay, and you do a real audit on everything that you paid, it pales in comparison to what this fighter over here wants. So don't get mad when you say, hey, I don't know why y'all keep talking about this dude, and he go find work elsewhere for a bag, and now all of a sudden you want him to drop that to come. It's like, we can't have it both ways, man. We got to have responsible boxing talk, whether it's your guy or not, whether you're part of your tribe or not. It's like, it's just real boxing talk. And unless we can get past that, we're not going to go anywhere, because if what's on that menu don't align with what's in your wallet or your purse, you're going to be washing dishes. You're going to be busting suds. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm hearing a lot of boxing conversations, man, where people just get out of control and they go OC, and it's the same old shit. I heard a dude this weekend who his shit ain't evolved in the last 2 years. I'm like, you still talking about that shit? It's been 2 years, bro. And your conversation ain't changed at all. Wake up. And what I wanted to do, what I really wanted to be doing, was I wanted to be talking about Richardson Hitchens and Cambosis. I wanted to be talking about Keyshawn get ready to defend his shit up against De Los Santos. I wanted to be talking about everything being calibrated with Morataya actually, you know what I'm saying, basically taking Loma's spot, because Loma is still in the dark. I don't see people getting all emotional and crazy. Where's Loma at? He said he was going to do this the way they do with Tank. They don't keep the same energy. But because every time they put a mic in this guy's face and he say Tank name, now all of a sudden Tank need all this accountability, but this guy over here on the left can say whatever the fuck he want and ain't no accountability for him. So hold your fighter to the. I want to see a video. I want to hear y'all chiming in. I want to hear some special requests for y'all stating why it's cool for Shakur to say, oh no, I'm a lightweight, but I can go to 54 and fight Conor Ben. Where's the video or the special request for all of the fans that are only Shakur only fans? They want to talk about that. Oh no, they don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about that. They just want to allow him to say Tank name in every fucking interview and then put the blame on Tank. It's like, well, Tank minding his business. You the one out here talking. Let's talk about some of the things you said. Nah, we don't want to talk about that. But y'all know what it is, man. I just wanted to say, man, don't fall victim to Eddie and them same old dumbass talking points. Don't fall victim to the whole divide and conquer. What we really should be doing, right? If we were all objective and wanting to see the creme de la creme, is we should be looking at damn near a trilogy between Boots and Norman. We should have been looking at a fight in Philly, a fight in Atlanta, and then maybe a third one in Vegas. Not just one shitting on one side and one shitting on the other side and one ignoring all the dumb crazy shit that's going on over here on the left. And not keeping in the buck on what's going on with them all, because they all kind of say certain things and then do other things, and we only want to hold certain ones accountable. And this should not be so. But that's my cook for tonight, man. Thanks for everybody who came through, man, and showed your boys some love. If you could, hit the like button. If you catch this on the playback, talk to me, I'll talk back. You know what I'm saying? And I'm getting ready to get back to the shit that really matters, man. I just think that somebody need to do this so that people will have some kind of perspective and some shit to think about. Where one fighter got 2 mandatories. Ain't nobody doing no videos about Rolly. That's the other mandatory. Ain't nobody doing no videos about Giasov. Y'all just want to talk about Norman and Boots. Like Norman ain't got Sasaki on the menu in 4 weeks. Make it make sense. Thanks for choosing Bodywork Boxing. Well, we don't take things for face value. We do that body work.
He didn't want to box. He wanted to actually prove that he could punch with you. He was like, what the fuck is this nigga, right? Oh, okay, you want to go to sleep. You tired.
Welcome to Bodywork.